Welcome to the Career Seekers channel. Today, we have a special guest, Alex Vegh, who has become an associate for a leading private equity company. If you're career-minded and passionate about a finance career, or if you're considering a transition into this exciting field, this session is for you. Alex will share valuable insights, tips, and experiences that can help you navigate your career path, achieve financial independence, and advance towards financial management roles. Thank you, Alex, for giving back.
Happy to help. Thanks, Edmund.
Thank you. Can you share a little bit about your journey into private equity and what drew you into this field?
Yeah, so I think my interest in markets started when I was a teenager. I was a big collector of hockey cards when I was a teenager, and just like any other market, a hockey card market exists, and that really taught me about supply, demand, trends, negotiating, sales, etc. I had to do all of that to build my collection when I was a teenager. And this interest in markets was further enhanced by a high school teacher who had a family member working in investment banking. And he was a big supporter of students going into investment banking. He did a good job fostering students' interest in investment banking and in finance in general. That motivated me to go to the University of Waterloo for their accounting and finance program. And while I was at Waterloo, I continued to nurture my interest in finance and learn more about it through participating in competitions, joining finance clubs, and taking advantage of Waterloo's co-op program. I was able to complete 2 internships in private equity and 2 internships in investment banking while I was at Waterloo. And that led to me joining TD Securities as an investment banking analyst in 2019. I spent 4 years at TD Securities in investment banking across their financial sponsors and diversified industries group. And then I joined a Canadian pension fund almost 2 years ago, and I've been at that pension fund in their private equity group since then.
Wow, what an amazing story. Is accounting important in your current role?
I think accounting, especially financial accounting, is really the language of finance and how these numbers get communicated to readers of financial statements. So at Waterloo, I took all the financial accounting courses there to ensure that I was well versed in this language. And even though numbers are numbers, accounting rules are somewhat subjective, and there are ways to make the numbers say what you want them to say. So you really have to understand these accounting rules and how to compare 2 companies that may use different accounting rules or assumptions in their accounting. So accounting is definitely a valuable skill to read financial statements and really understand the underlying businesses that you're performing due diligence on.
Excellent. What are the main differences between working in investment banking and private equity?
So finance can be split into the sell side and the buy side. Sell side means you're selling securities on behalf of a company, or you're selling a company, and that's what investment banking is. A common misconception is that investment banking has to do with investing. It's not necessarily true. When you're in investment banking, you're either representing a company when it's selling itself or looking to buy another company as an agent. And the way that works is sort of similar to being a real estate agent. You try to get the highest price for a company if you're selling them, or you try to get the best deal for the buyer that you're representing if you're representing the buyer. And you get paid by collecting a percentage of the total transaction value on that. In investment banking, you're also IPOing companies, which is selling equity securities on their behalf, the similar commission model. And you're issuing debt on behalf of companies. And you're doing all of this with the goal to get the best deal for the company that you're representing. And you're incentivized to do so by collecting a commission off of whatever transaction happens. Private equity is the buy side. So when you're in investment banking, you're selling these securities to investors, mostly institutional investors. And a private equity firm is one of those institutional investors. So when you work in private equity, you're trying to achieve strong returns for the capital that you're deploying. And this capital is typically raised from pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, high net worth individuals, etc. And the buy side also includes other types of investors, such as public equity investors, venture capital investors, etc. So, yeah.
Excellent. That was insightful.
Mhm.
Can you walk us through a typical workday for you?
A third of my time is spent diligencing new private equity firms to partner with. So that includes meeting with them, visiting them, doing desktop research on what our options are out there in the private equity landscape. And another third is diligencing these direct investments in these companies. We call them co-investments. So that's a lot of looking at data rooms, looking at consultant reports, doing expert calls, writing internal memos. And then the final third is asset management, which is managing our existing portfolio of private equity commitments and co-investments. So this includes getting quarterly updates from the private equity firms, attending board meetings of the companies that we're invested in, and providing updates to internal stakeholders within the pension in terms of how our investments are doing.
Excellent. Sounds like a lot of numbers, a lot of analysis, a lot of report viewing and analysis, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're hoping to use AI to summarize some of the reporting and make our jobs a bit easier.
Excellent. Can you describe a typical career path for someone starting in finance?
Typically, you'll be in some sort of quantitative undergrad program. This could be a business program, could be a math program or an engineering program. And when you're in this program, be good to take advantage of the internship opportunities that are available to you. A lot of the companies and a lot of banks and corporate companies in Canada will offer these internships through your career portal, or you can network with people at these companies that you want to work for. And this is probably the easiest path to getting a full-time position at one of these companies. A popular, I guess, first full-time job in front office finance is investment banking. And it's popular because you work a lot of long hours in investment banking. You're expected to learn on the job and learn technical skills and soft skills very quickly on the job. And it's really a great launch pad to other front office careers in finance, because you do get this training for the 2 or however many years you are an investment banking analyst for. Then after that, you'll see some investment banking analysts join private equity, could join a venture capital firm, they could join a traditional corporate company in their business development team, for example, where you're looking at acquisition opportunities on behalf of the company as part of an internal team. Or you could decide to stick it out in investment banking. I have a lot of friends who are still in investment banking and they've been promoted to the associate vice president, director level, etc. I would say that, yeah, most students use investment banking as a launch pad for other front office careers.
Great. How important is continuing education or certification like CPA, CFA in advancing a career in finance and accounting?
I think a CPA is probably mandatory for advancing your career in accounting, not necessarily in finance, although it is an asset, as it shows that you're a qualified accountant, and it's another stamp of approval on your resume. If you want to take your career far in accounting and eventually be like a chief financial officer of a company, I don't think I've ever come across a chief financial officer without a CPA. So I would consider that a necessity for the accounting career path. I think that a CFA is more of a nice to have for the finance career path. Certainly an asset if you don't have much else experience on your resume in terms of internships or extracurriculars, as it does show that you're qualified and it communicates your interest in finance. But I don't believe a CFA is mandatory for investment banking, private equity. It may be mandatory for public equities, where you get to the portfolio manager level and you're investing in public equity securities on behalf of clients, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Thank you. What are some of the common mistakes that job seekers make when applying for finance positions, and how can they avoid them?
One of the ways that people recommend to break into finance is cold emailing professionals, adding people in the industry on LinkedIn. I would say that's a pretty difficult way, or at least you'll have a low hit rate doing that, just because a lot of people in the finance industry receive a lot of these messages and take up a lot of their time if they responded and agreed to meet with everyone who emailed them. So I think a way that you can increase your hit rate is to find some common ground with the person that you're emailing. So whether it's you attended the same school, you attended the same program as a person, or you can have a mutual friend make a warm introduction for you, or you could even send an example of work that you've done to grab their attention and prove to them that what they're talking about. But I would caution that sharing examples of your work could be a double-edged sword. If it's not a high-quality piece of work, or there's some basic attention to detail errors in there, it could turn off the recipient and do their filtering job for them. So before you do send an example of work, I would advise getting someone in the industry to review it. I think another common mistake is not being prepared for coffee chats, not being prepared for these networking calls, or not being prepared for interviews that you actually do get. There's a lot of finance interview guides out there, and a lot of the questions in those are more soft cultural questions like, why do you want to work in finance? Why do you want to work at this particular company, etc. You should have answers prepared for ahead of time, and you should practice those answers. The person's confident that you'll be a good cultural fit at their company.
Now we're on the topic. What do you do for networking?
I took advantage of my program at Waterloo. There's a lot of like-minded individuals in my program who had similar goals and similar interests than I had. So being in university is a great place to meet people who you'll either be working with directly or you'll cross paths with sometime in your career. So I would definitely recommend joining any finance clubs that your university has, or participating in any competitions that your university has. And this really allows you to develop relationships organically with people who are the same age as you or a year or two older than you. And I actually got both of my investment banking co-ops through people that I had met in finance clubs, and they knew I was interested in finance, so they were able to reach out to me and ask me to apply and push my resume through, and I developed these relationships organically. I was lucky that I didn't have to do too many coffee chats or networking calls.
Alex, do you do a lot of LinkedIn? You spend time on LinkedIn?
I think I used to spend more time when I was in university. I do use it to message some of my professional contacts and get in touch with them if I don't have an alternate way of reaching them. I occasionally have students reach out to me on there, so you'll use LinkedIn as a way to connect with them. But I mostly use it as a messaging tool and a way to keep up on my professional network and where my professional contacts and professional relationships are working, and seeing them progress through the ranks at their companies.
Excellent. So pretty much you have built it up ever since you were in university.
That's right. I think I created my LinkedIn account either in grade 12 or first year university, but I would definitely recommend adding your university friends, especially the ones that will be pursuing a similar career as you, on LinkedIn to keep up with their careers and to have a way of contacting them after you've graduated.
Yeah, those are the low-hanging fruits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Next question. How can we effectively showcase skills and experience in the resume or company's position?
Yeah, so I think finance resumes are pretty standardized, and what I mean by that is they're typically only one page, regardless of how much experience or how many deals you've worked on. So in order to keep it one page, I would recommend just highlighting your most relevant experience on your resume. You don't necessarily need to highlight the high school job you've had. And once you graduate, typical finance resume includes your relevant work experience and any deal experience that you've worked on. So if you worked in investment banking, you've probably worked on a few deals. And even if these deals weren't publicly announced, you can keep it high level enough where you're not giving away any material non-public information. I would also include any certifications such as CFA or the Canadian Securities Institute is also a pretty attainable certification that you can get while you're in university that shows your interest in finance. Any skills that you have, this is mostly going to be technical skills such as Excel, other Microsoft Office products. And then lastly, you can include your interests on it. So what makes you human, what makes you interesting, what your hobbies are, and what your colleagues can talk to you about outside of work. Cover letters are less common in finance jobs from what I've seen. Your cover letter really showcases your writing skills, and I think it's pretty difficult for a lot of people these days to acquire strong writing skills because everybody's texting or not really reading books to see examples of strong writing. And in my job in particular, writing skills are very important because we're writing a lot of internal memos that we present to internal stakeholders, and these memos can be over 30 pages long, and you need to make sure that your writing skills aren't distracting from the actual content of the memo itself.
Excellent. What advice would you give to someone who is transitioning into finance from a different career or trying to move into a finance career?
Yeah, so I think it's a lot more difficult today to transition into finance from an unrelated career. I think in the past, you were able to leverage your network more or find a mentor that's in finance who could vouch for you. I think nowadays, the job market is a lot more competitive. A lot of hires need to go through an HR department, and the team needs to justify why they're hiring a particular candidate with their background. What I have seen candidates do to be successful is, one, have a strong body of work that they can show to someone in the finance industry or a mentor that they can point to and vouch for them to get a finance role. So even if it's as simple as a Twitter account where you're sharing your views on companies that you're interested in investing in, or Substack is a really popular medium for you to write more long-form pieces on companies that you're interested in or trends in the market that you're seeing. If you don't have this, I think an MBA is also a very valid and proven path to getting a role in finance. When you complete an MBA, it shows that you're credentialed, you have requisite finance knowledge, you're able to network with the other MBA students who will be pursuing similar career paths as you, and companies go directly to business schools in Canada that have MBA programs and actively recruit MBA students in those programs for internships. And so that's definitely a path to getting an interview, getting an internship, and then converting that into a full-time role.
Excellent. I think when I grow up, I want to get into an internship program.
Even the Canadian banks hire a lot of MBA candidates, and these MBA candidates do work in investment banking roles, and a lot of them have just come from more traditional corporate backgrounds or real estate from the interns that I've worked with.
If you could give one piece of advice to a younger Alex at the start of your career, what would it be?
I would be more methodical about my career path and where I wanted to work or which specific company I wanted to work for. There are a number of considerations and a number of sacrifices that you have to make when you do that. If you're in that highest paying job, you really don't have a good work-life balance. So you don't have any time for your friends, family, or hobbies. If you decide to move to New York City, well, most people don't have friends or family in New York City. So you're sacrificing a lot of friendships, family gatherings, and even relationships that you may be in by moving to another city. So, I think in any career path, there's going to be some what if questions, but I think the most important thing for yourself is if you're happy with your current role, you're happy with the city you live in, you're happy with the relationships that you're able to maintain and that your job allows you to maintain.
Cool. Now, the last question. What is the most interesting or unexpected aspect of working in your current role?
I think I'm still at the stage of my career where I'm not tired of the travel, and I'm not tired of traveling. So it's been fun visiting some of these locations and having a few hours of downtime that you can sneak out and do some sightseeing while you're there. Get to meet a lot of interesting and successful people, and these people are extremely intelligent. They have decades of deal experience, and being a meaningful partner to these private equity firms allows you to sit across the table from them and have a conversation with them and learn from their experience.
And you still don't mind the traveling?
No, yeah, I still haven't gotten tired of it. I think once I settle down and have a family one day, I'll probably like it less, but for now it's still novel enough for me that I can appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This has been so insightful.
Yeah, thank you, Edmund. Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
These are your career secrets. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I'm Professor Edmund. Thank you.